Mazi, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now? You can hear me now. You can hear me now. You can hear me now.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I was saying that a fortnight ago we had the first edition on metals, and the lead speaker in the person of Professor Vincent Anibogu, and then the speaker that we have today here, Omar Hassan, they all, threw light, into metals. And at the end of the meeting, we had our take-homes, and number one of the take-home was that yes, Africa is awash with these metals, which of course is the base, the resource base of nations' industrialization. And we agreed that we need to get our youths, educated, to be informed of these metals. And then we also went ahead to agree that although it's not in doubt that we have these materials in their raw form, we need the requisite environment to be able to harness these metals to their full effect on the Afro economy. And one of those, basic condition is that we must have, electricity. Africa generates 170,000 megawatts. It is a far cry from what she ought to be generating to be able to power the active population to grow her GDP. So all of this were, and many more were the take home fortnight ago. Today, we will be discussing on the refining, refining and application of metals. Mining, refining, and application of metals. And why are we doing all of this? It is important for us to actually educate ourselves. Okay, like I have mentioned, it is good for us to educate ourselves. It's not enough to say that we have all these natural resources, and when we see bauxite, we won't be able to say this is bauxite. We see copper ore, we won't be able to say this is copper ore. All of this, we need to really educate ourselves, because if we agree that it is the base for industrialization, then we must, properly educate ourselves of it. So today, the chief host, Professor Piero Lumumba, is not disposed to having this conference with us. I have with me here the co-host, Ms. Bola Adesi, all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. Speaking today will be Engineer David Longe. That will be the lead speaker, and then Engineer Umar Hassan, actually Dr. Umar Hassan, because he has PhD in metallurgy and mining. At the moment, I'll be handing over to Bola Adesiyi. Bola Adesiyi, please, co-host.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, wherever in the world you are calling in from. We do appreciate your presence today. Mazio Bena, if you would please make me co-host, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Hold on.
All right, thank you very much. All right. Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes.
With the bio for Engineer Lunge?
Yes.
All right. You have to confirm with technology to ensure that what you think you're projecting is what you're actually projecting. So as Mazio Bena mentioned, we do have two distinguished speakers in the house today. Our first speaker is Engineer David Lunge, who is the CEO and Managing Partner of Dolok Resource Managers. He is a strategic leader, a mine management expert, a mining engineer, a change manager, a brand strategist, a sustainability manager, corporate finance expert, business analyst, project manager, innovation and entrepreneurship specialist, and fourth industrial revolutionist and brand strategist. So you see, he's very well qualified to lead us in the discussion today. He is an advocate of African unity and strategic hub development. He currently directs the Africa Mining Forum towards sustainable mining of African minerals by Africans for Africa, socio-economic development. He is a champion for sustainable development of the continent by Africans, for Africa's emancipation into true economic independence, and at the same time pioneering strategic Africa SME development. Engineer Lunge works with stakeholders in the commerce and trade value chain. Somebody has two sources of audio on. If you would please mute one, it's causing an echo. Thank you. Engineer Lunge works with stakeholders in the commerce and trade value chain to ensure favorable policy formulation and legislative frameworks to enhance local, national, and international economic cooperation and sustainable investment opportunities for our members, and works assiduously to ensure already existing favorable economic policies are effectively benefiting members. He established market linkages locally and internationally, and continues to research and identify investment opportunities for local and international investors. Please give a warm welcome to Engineer David Lunge. I would ask somebody has two sources of audio on, if you would please mute one source, turn it down entirely. It would really help with the echo problem we're having currently. Our next speaker is Dr. Umar Hassan. He is the newly appointed substantive DG. And let me share that screen with you so you can see. Are you able to see that? All right. Let's give it another go. All right. Do you see Engineer Hassan now? Do you see this? Bio for Engineer Hassan? Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we
Thank you
can.
very much.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
All right. So the newly appointed substitute DG and CE for NSRMEA, that is Engineer Umar Hassan, was born in 1964 in Auna in Magama local government area of Niger State. He holds a Bachelor's of Engineering degree in Mineral Process Engineering and Associateship of Camborne School of Mines from the Camborne School of Mines, Cornwall, UK. He has a postgraduate diploma in management from Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University, Bauchi, and a master's degree in metallurgical and materials engineering from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. He is a registered engineer with the Council of Mining Engineers and Geoscientists and Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria. He's a fellow of the Nigerian Mining and Geosciences Society and the Nigerian Society of Mining Engineers, as well as a corporate member of the Nigerian Metallurgical Society and Nigerian Society of Engineers. He's also a professional member of the Society for Mining, Metallurgy, and Exploration Incorporation of America. Again, I ask that you give him a warm welcome as well. I'm going to share the program with you so you see the order of our program today. So our first speaker today is Engineer David Longe, followed by Dr. Umar Hassan, and then we'll have a Q&A session, and that will be followed by closing remarks. So at this time, it is my pleasure to invite to speak Engineer David Longe. Please take the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Bola Adesui. Can everybody hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Welcome your colleagues, comrades, and it's my singular honor to be invited to be one of the speakers in this platform today. And I want to celebrate Engineer Umar Hassan. I want to thank him also for his presence. We're going to be discussing mining, refining, and application of metals for industrialization in Africa. Okay, but for the understanding of all the people who are in the forum, who are not maybe mining expert, we need to speak some language that will make them understand what we are discussing about. So today I'm going to be demystifying sustainable and responsible mining in Africa in the simplest way I can. I remember when we were studying mining engineering as undergraduates, we were continually reminded that mining is a very capital intensive project or business that you do not necessarily even have the capacity to do it. You just study and then you expect some foreign big guns to come around and you can apply for a job there. So we were all studying, and I'm very well sure some of my classmates might be on this platform today. I do not suppose any one of us was aiming to become an entrepreneur in the sector that we went to study for 5 years to get honors degree. And the process continued also at master's degree level. And but in the pursuit of my career, in the process of my career, I realized that there is a very big gap between what we were told and the reality. The mining is actually not as mysterious as it was presented. that we can actually do mining as Africans. We can actually run the show by ourselves. And somewhere along the line, I just developed this passion for sustainable mining of African minerals by Africans, for Africans, with some inherent displeasure on how the African mineral has been looted, and how, since independence of most African countries, how our leadership in some part of Africa has not been able to understand the nitty-gritty of mining, and how to make mining favorable for Africans. So as a result today, I'm going to start, I'm trying to see if I can share a little with you, or share my screen, which can be a means of following easily. I'm going to see if I can share the screen with you. I want to appreciate they have the power, the African mining sector have got the power to revolutionize all sector of the economy by reducing expectations. And I'm going to break that down. When we appreciate mining, local mining ability, when we appreciate processing with our own indigenous capacity, when we appreciate that, we will be able to reduce as much as possible on all sectors of the economy importation. Because the raw materials that are majorly exported out of Africa can be used within Africa. When I get to my recommendation, I'm going to explain a bit further on that one. So, but when we understand the prospect of our mining practices in Africa, we will be able to appreciate the fact that, look, mining will revolutionize everything. Mining will revolutionize technology. Mining will revolutionize agriculture, because there is nothing we do in daily basis that does not require mining products. From our bedroom to our offices, from our utensils in the kitchen to the chemical industry, to the pharmaceutical industry, to the medical industry, we use mineral products. And so when we take advantage of what we have been endowed by God and take serious look at it and do it the right way we are supposed to do it, we are going to experience economic revolution and massive industrialization, wealth creation, job creation that are unprecedented. And Africa is going to begin to stand tall among the Commonwealth of Nations. We are going to enhance local industrialization. We are going to ensure that grassroots industrialization through organized, responsible, and sustainable mining is also taking place. So, and I mean to say that what we will term as an economically viable mineral commodity that cannot be done by the large-scale mining companies can actually be articulated or harnessed to the artisanal and small-scale miners to take advantage of. And when we have a hub of small-scale miners, 100 small-scale miners mining copper in a particular hub, we end up generate for us equivalent to a large-scale production of copper ore for processing, that somebody else can put a processing plant there and process it locally. And the copper cathode or the copper anode or copper blisters that are gotten from that production can eventually be used for local wire production, and then reduce on cost of doing business. It reduces on cost of living. These and many more are some of the prospects that the mining sector is going to bring to us if we take advantage of this. And I've spoken about the agricultural revolution. We are going to see many manufacturing companies revolutionize. We are going to see information technology take place. For instance, I spoke about Congo supplying over 60% of cobalt. And one of the technology companies in the world is trying to sign an agreement with the Congolese government to take actually maybe all the cobalt. Why can't the government within the country ensure that the car battery manufacturing company is established within Congo, for example, and make sure that instead of exporting the commodity, it is being used locally and we are exporting the finished product? I remember I was in the Middle East sometimes last year. I was consulting for a very large corporate organization that uses copper cathode from Zambia. And they import copper cathode from Zambia and cross over the sea for thousands of kilometers, process the copper cathode and bring back finished product of bus bar, finished product of transformer back to Africa. But that can be done within the Zambian context as well. That could be done in Nigeria. That could be done in Ghana. That could be done in Namibia. So these are the the African mining sector has got for us to take advantage of as professionals and as stakeholders in the industry. So quickly, let me take you through some of the model of success that we have initiated. Sustainable mining of African minerals by Africans for Africa's socioeconomic development. This is what I'm championing. This is what I'm pushing. And I'm outsourcing resources, I'm outsourcing funds, I'm outsourcing professionals all over Africa to groom them to take advantage of the local commodities, local minerals within our individual countries, and ensure that we begin to maximize them for the economic growth of our individual country and collectively as a continent. So we've developed a model of success of mining in Africa, and we are moving in that direction. Again, we have established what we call African Mining Investment and Investors Forum. And I'm inviting all of us, as many of us that are interested in mining, even if you are not from today, you should begin to have that interest because you are going to be contributing largely to the development of this great continent. So deliberately, we are fostering investment opportunities for both local, national, and international partners who are interested in mining in Africa. But it's not going to be business as usual, but we are going to make sure that the negotiation favors Africa. So deliberately to help the local investors take advantage of what we have as mineral resources. And so we also have what we have African Mining Partners, which is a network of African mining professionals. Invariably, we are looking at each country mineral resources, and we are looking at how to enhance the capacity of the local professionals to be able to take advantage of the mineral resources within the country, which will enhance local exploration to authenticate our mineral resource estimation and analysis, which will create national and database of mineral resource of our own. And I'm very serious about it. We don't really know how much we have. It will surprise you to know that in some of our countries, we are still going around with what the colonial master left for us as an exploration data. Some of our geological survey department has not been able to even fully explore the countries, even 50, 60 years after independence. And this is a big challenge for us. How do we maximize what we don't know? And so we are also going to go ahead and ensure what we have as responsible and sustainable mining. So our mining model will generate hundreds of thousands of jobs within African countries because we focus on industrialization of the countries using the local resources and using the local manpower, using the local professional to achieve this. Small and medium refineries can be funded locally with the money and the resources we are outsourcing locally and internationally. We are very, very passionate on ensuring that the artisanal small and medium mining companies or segment of the mining phases is established. Because ultimately, some group of people can be enhanced to take care of the exploration activities. And some other group are enhanced to take care of the mining activities. Some other group are enhanced to take care of the processing metallurgical and processing activities. Some other group are enhanced to take care of the marketing or end usage of the mineral commodities, the refined product locally. Because we look beyond to make sure that there is industrialization. There is more in manufacturing. We look forward to a situation whereby the steels within Africa are going to be used to make parts in Africa. And we are going to be producing everything within African context to make sure that we grow our economy. And we are advocating also a regional refineries wherein Nigeria and Ghana can combine resources together to ensure a particular major mineral is processed and used within the local space or in the region to benefit everyone. And like I did mention, not everybody in mining will be able to take a full-scale mining project, so it can be segmentized, or you can segment it into exploration, mining, mineral processing, and application of the same mineral within the industry. So we hope also to enhance capacity to do this. So without mining, there is no life, which I've mentioned earlier. We want to ensure strategic investment in each of these phases. Okay. At the same time, in our model of success, we wish to engage the powers that be, the national government, on reviewing of many of the mining laws and policies. With my little experience in the mining sector over the years, we realized that one of the killers of this sector, which many of us might be a witness to, is our mining law, the legislative framework. It is very, very dangerous in some of our countries. So what we do in the mining sector, it doesn't favor our economy at all. And so we also wish to establish a research and development center where we bring the mining solution from the classroom into the industry, and we amalgamate, where in the industry we leverage on the research that is being done in the university. And I'm sure Engineer Oman will be able to throw more light into these. As an undergraduate and as a graduate, we have so many research and theses that we have done, which are sitting in the archives of the university, and the nations continue to suffer. So some of these things need to be brought into light. Another dangerous thing when it comes to mining law and legislative framework is the tax regime of many of our countries are not favorable to our local mining and mineral investors. These things also need to be reviewed. Okay, so now we are looking at Africa, the reality we have on ground when it comes to mineral commodities and why we have so many foreign investments taking place in our continent is that our mineral commodities, most of them appears to be better than what they have in other continents. And number two, it is very, very expensive to mine outside Africa. We may think that we don't have the resources to exploit our minerals, but the reality is that it is more expensive for the people that comes to our continent to mine if they are to mine in their own continent. So they take advantage of the cheap mining activities in African continent. And that includes what we call cheap labor. So we have to come to a point where we need to begin to encourage the indigenous mining servicing company to be able to help us, jumpstart us and promote us in developing this sector. Now quickly to my recommendation for strategic local industrialization. What must we do as a continent or as a country? What must we do with this background? What are we expected to do? First on my list is capacity building. And I'm glad the fortnight ago when it was being reported that the emphasis was made on youth empowerment. And I'm going to make the same emphasis today. We need to empower our young people, first of all, with the right information with respect to mining and mineral development in Africa. It must be a deliberate effort to maximize the opportunity that mining presents. We need to support deliberate investment in all phases of mining. Until we begin to see mining as the bedrock of development, we will not do anything about it. And as long as there are some individuals pocketing money or whatever brown or green or blue envelope, it will be at the detriment of the nations and at the continent at large. So our leader needs to properly be educated and be demystify mining to them, because one of the mystery up there when they are negotiating is that what I said in my introduction, that look, mining is capital intensive. You need somebody with white or purple skin to bring money from Zurich or Switzerland. It's not like that, because we can actually understand the process of mining, because sometimes when these friends of ours come to take up our mineral resources for development, they start small and build it. And in some cases, they use our resources, process it to pay us what they owe us. So why can't we do the same thing? Why can't we build the mining sector from the small scale and build it to medium scale and build it to large scale? Why can't we start gold mining at a small scale, with that copper mining at a small scale? We enhance capacity of young people or people that are already in the industry to do it and upscale to medium scale and large scale. Gradually, at the end of the day, we have mega mining companies springing up all over Africa, helping every other sector of the economy to expand and to grow. So I also recommend that we need to deliberately begin to review our legislative framework to favor the local investors. There are so many people who have some extra money somewhere in Africa. I do not believe Africa is poor. There are so many people that have money to put into mineral development, but it is a mystery to them. They think, like we were told, that you need the huge billions of money. Those things are okay for large-scale production. But when it comes to development of African mining sector, we are not going to wait for the mega investors to come and do that. We need to start from where we are. We need to enhance the capacity of the small-scale miners. We need to enhance the capacity of the artisanal miner. We need to enhance the capacity of the medium-scale miners. And we need to segmentize each of the mining phases and invest deliberately there and encourage people to take investment in each of the phases of the mining activity. So resources must be deliberately allocated to develop these sectors through local content. And that takes me to reversing the resource curse in Africa. How can we reverse the resource curse in Africa? It can only be done through diversification. Chile has done this successfully. A few other countries in the world have done this. Australia GDP is controlled, 60% and above of Australian GDP is controlled by mining. It goes to tell us the power of the mining sector. And I'm emphasizing emphatically that, look, we need to champion these as a group, as a forum. We need to champion this. We need to encourage ourselves. We need to motivate ourselves. We need to motivate our leadership to begin to have a different look at the mining sector as a game changer for the African economy. So I recommend also that there must be an informed engagement of foreign partners at all levels to favor mineralized countries. Gone are those days when somebody will come all over from wherever they are coming from and take the chunk of our minerals and leave us behind, and we'll be running after them. Tax they will not even pay. We need to take the show by ourselves. We need to understand what we are doing. We need to know the value of what we have. We need to know the quantity and the quality. We need to engage our professionals. We need our own children to evaluate our mineral resources for us. We need them to tell us what quantity and quality of emerald we have, what quantity and quality of zinc lead that we have. They need to give us the resource estimation. And we need to ensure that there is strategic development of the artisanal small-scale mining sector in Africa towards strategic commercialization of every phase of mining activities by the locals. I also recommend that we need to create a processing hubs. Once we identify the local minerals, for instance, let me give you an example of where I am. I'm presently in Zambia. We have a lot of copper and gold, and they come in a conglomerate. So there are a number of different hubs of Zambia. I've got copper and gold and a few other minerals, and they are distant from each other. My recommendation to some of the people I advise has been, look, we can create a processing plant for gold in this region, another processing plant of gold in some other region, and it takes care of the small-scale producers, even though we have the large-scale producer as well, but the small-scale producer needs also to be enhanced. That's the essence of the processing apps. These are some of the strategies that is going to work to accelerate the sector development in Africa. We cannot wait for the mega money for the opportunity that has presented itself to us. Okay, so, all right, crude oil mining may begin to experience some setback. I think I need to mention this before I draw my closing remark. Because of the disruption that is happening in technology and innovation these days. For example, the greatest user of crude oil byproduct is the automobile industry. It may take a little more time, maybe in the next 10 or 20 years, but slowly we are getting there. We see a situation whereby if the electric car comes through, the consumption of crude oil is going to be reduced, and with the climate change issues that we want to reduce on the GHG emissions. And so as African leaders and as African government and as Africans ourselves, we need to begin to pay more attention to solid mineral development. This as a matter of responsibility. So in conclusion, African mineral resources can sustainably be mined by Africans for Africa, socioeconomic development through strategic approaches. And for any one of us, and for anyone who will listen to this brief introduction after this meeting, who might be interested in doing mining business, we will readily make ourselves available to make sure that we guide and advise on how to go about it. And for easy link for you, you might check africabyafricans.org, africanbyafrican.org, or you can just get hold of me through Mazi himself, or you'll find me on linkedin.com. And if you must get hold of me directly by WhatsApp, it's also, my number will be shared, I'm sure, by Mazi himself. So I thank you all for listening. I hope I've been able to inspire us in some ways. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Engineer Lunge, for that comprehensive presentation into the state and the issues and recommendations. I'm sure that there are a lot of questions for you. I will ask that if you do have a question, please go ahead and indicate your name in the chat, and I will call you in the order in which your name is placed in the chat. We have a Q&A session, and we will address all questions at that time. Thank you very much. So just go ahead and put your name in the chat, and I will call you for questions in the order in which your name appears in the chat. All right, so now it's time for me to invite our second speaker. We're glad to have also in the house today, Engineer Umar Hassan, Dr. Umar Hassan, to also give us his presentation. Dr. Hassan, please take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Mazi, thank you, colleagues. Can you allow me to share my screen, please?
Should be able to allow you to share your screen.
Once again, thank you, Engineer Lange. Well done for the extensive presentation and very educating one. Our topic for today, as requested, is mining, refining, and application of metals for African industrialization. I don't know whether the bulk of us are well versed in mining. So assuming that not all of us are in that profession, I just briefly give us some fundamentals that we need to know, because as we discuss, some of these terms will come up. For example, what do you understand by a mineral? Which from the screen you see they are natural inorganic substances that have definite chemical composition and structure. Or to say they are minerals extracted from the earth crust that are extracted for economic benefits. So, and what are rocks? Rocks generally are solid substances that contain one or more minerals. Metallic minerals are point of interest, are minerals that contain one or metallic elements. And of course, in last week's, the earlier presentation that we had, or discussion that we had on this session, we talked about metals generally. So, and ore that you would probably be hearing, ores are mixtures of minerals containing value constituents that in such amounts that can permit possible economic extraction. Or an ore is a mineral substance that contain a metallic material that can be extracted from it. And the mineral deposits are mineral occurrences of sufficient size and grade having economic value. And mineral reserves, of course, are non-identified resources from which usable mineral commodities can be extracted using current technological, economically, and legal, that can be extracted legally, meaning that there are reserves that are well established, well determined in terms of having gone through exploration processes and have been determined and can be quantified, meaning that technology can be used, current technologies, to extract them, and you can market the products that you produce therefrom, and you can, of course, obtain mineral titles from them. Run-of-mines are mineral materials that are mined from mines directly without any value addition, amongst others. Mining cycles, as we see generally that most of us are aware, is you start a mining process from the search of a deposit, meaning prospecting and exploration, meaning that you're finding where the mineral resource is. And then it's after finding through exploration, which Engineer Lange talked about, that there's this saying that mining is capital intensive. The capital intensiveness of mining actually falls into the exploration aspect as well as the mining aspect itself. In exploration, because you do not know where these things are, so you have to go searching. Most often you wander all over the place in search, even though technology has made it a lot easier now, whereby you can use, for example, geophysical methods to help you identify your search targets, and you can concentrate on those. The next one is after discovering the deposit, because when you carry out exploration, you take us to exploit or extract subsample surfaces or even outcrops, which will enable you confirm that yes, you have these resources there, and you can do economic analysis to determine whether the mineral you find in that place can be economically extracted to enable you exploit it profitably. Having done that, which is what is usually called feasibility study, to establish its viability for economic exploitation, you go to mine development. So in developing a mine, of course, you need to plan how do you exploit this. And these are there are various stages in which you develop them depending on the nature of formation of the mineral. If there are minerals that outcrop, makes it a lot easier. You can establish a surface mine, meaning that you can exploit the mineralization from the surface without having to go deep down. But if it's a subsurface deposit, meaning that you have a cover, meaning it's a blind mineral, so you'll have to either use shaft or add it to access that mineralizations to mine. So for you to begin these processes, of course, there's one fundamental thing which I skipped, which is acquisition of mineral titles. In every jurisdiction you go, before you engage into exploration or mining itself, you must obtain a title. There's what is called mineral exploration title, or some call it prospecting rights. That will give you permit to go into a field to search for minerals and also carry out exploration works. Having established a deposit, you would need to apply to obtain what's called a mining lease that will permit you to exploit the deposit you have discovered. And in exploitation, of course, that's where mining comes in, meaning that you develop a mine, you drill and blast. If it's a hard formation, if it's a loose formation, like any sedimentary formation, of course, you can just use an ordinary excavator to scoop and then take it to a processing plant. This is the aspect that mostly in Africa, particularly with the scale of operations that we have. Engineer Longe talked about allowing the multinationals to come in to exploit our deposits. Mineral deposits can fall into basically 2 or 3 main grades or classifications. You have the large deposits, you have the medium scale deposits or marginal feeds, and of course you have the ones that are usually exploited by the artisanals. If you have big, large deposits, economics of size or interest of countries will usually warrant to have an investor that has the wherewithal to exploit such large deposits. As we go along the presentation, you see what I'm talking about clearly. In Africa, and particularly here in Nigeria, the bulk of mining is actually being carried out by artisanal. Artisanal here means they just scratch the surface, not going into serious miners. The tonnages they produce are very, very small. So they don't even plan, but the medium and the large scale operators need to plan to know how to exploit, because deposits can vary even from the same size, but they can vary in different types of formations or natures and grades. So you need to plan to know which, in terms of your blending, that you can feed into a processing plant. The next aspect here is the extraction itself. In extraction here means you mine and extract the ore, as well as to process it to the various mineral commodities. What we need to know is that minerals that occur in the earth crust do not necessarily have to be of high grade. And as I said, we'll see that. You have minerals that come, for example, if you take gold minerals, a deposit of say about 6 grams per ton. What that 6 grams per ton means is that if you mine 1 ton of material, that means the in situ material, if you mine 1 ton, which is 1,000 kilograms, the best you can get from such a deposit that is graded to be 6 grams per ton is 6 grams of gold, if it's a gold deposit. So it's essential, you know that. So you need to process to discard essential waste that are there so that you'll be left with the valuables, which mostly is called concentrate. So in most of our operations, if the artisanals and others, they try to do this to reject the vast of the waste materials, which is called gang, and then the concentrates what they produce, and of course, either sell it or export it as concentrate, or sell to local plants that can add value to it later on. Now, in having exploited, because minerals are depleting assets, meaning that they have a time when it will come that they no longer exist. So when such time comes, of course, there will be no operations because you are there first and foremost because of the mineral occurrence. So if the minerals have been exhausted, you just have to close and you go. So closure and reclamation are very essential because you have to close and return the mine to the state at which, or return the land to the state at which you made it. In some situations, it's possible that you can fill up all your dug holes, but most often those pits can be converted to other economic uses. Like you can have a pond for irrigation purposes, for fish farming, amongst others. Sorry, let me just take this off here so that we can clearly find. So a mineral cycle, which is a little bit different from the cycle that I showed you there as a mine cycle, because the mine cycle will tell you the various stages from exploration down to mine closure. For mineral cycle, you have what drives for the search for a particular mineral. Of course, the society need for minerals and metals. In our own case, for today's discussion, is the metals. So a desire for a particular metal, if you take, for example, aluminum or iron ore, would lead investors or prospectors into search for such minerals. So the need has to arise. And in Africa, of course, we have the need for those. Aluminum, iron, copper, amongst others. Unfortunately, we have those deposits. So deposits are already there. And what we said, exploration through to smelting. Now we're talking about exploration, search for minerals, mine site development, extraction, and mining. Extraction, that means bringing out the mineral or the rock from the earth crust and then to the surface for processing. Of course, we have milling, washing, grading, or concentration. This is a process whereby you produce what is called a concentrate. And then the concentrate is what is now smelted and refined. So in smelting and refining follows smelting. Smelting is the extraction of the crude metal from the iron ore, while refining is producing a pure metal from the refined products. And of course, the other ones that follow will be fabrication into the various mineral products, maybe into different ingots or cups or tubes, amongst others. And then, of course, consumption and using that product, you might have what effect of corrosion might lead to the disposal of such products. In most cases, which is currently done now, is to reuse, recycling of products, or you remanufacture and you use that. So for our topic today, we said mining through to refining for the development for Africa's industrialization. Metals are essential for industrialization, and we've discussed the various stages that you mine, you process, and in process contains basically 3 stages. You have the crushing stages. Crush staging here means liberating your minerals. Sorry to disturb you with jargons of our processing techniques. And then mostly water is involved, which enable you produce your different concentrates with different metals, and you need to separate the water from the solids to produce your concentrate, which you can smelt. So concentrates that are usually produced, particularly for metals, if you take copper, you have your copper concentrate or zinc concentrate or sulfur, or even wolframite or coltan. And then from there you can now smelt, produce your impure metal. If you take copper or even gold, your processing, if you take gold, for example, when you process, you would likely at the end of the day produce a gold bullion from initial processing that can give you maybe 85% gold. Or for those gold formation that exist with sulfide mineralization, you can produce a concentrate containing maybe 25% gold in the gold sulfide, maybe a pyrite formation or chalcopyrite. So that is taken to a smelter where the various metals contained therein are smelted to produce the various products. In producing a product, you might at best produce a gold that contains 85% gold. That 85% gold is not pure enough. So for you to now produce a pure metal of say 99.99% gold, you will have to refine it. And in that refining means you are removing the impurities. And this is the act of removing of impurities to produce metal that is called refining. Smelting is the method that's used in extracting metal, and mostly it involves heating the concentrate to elevated temperatures that will enable you to use a reducing agent, for example, carbon, or you can use others that will reduce it to the crude metal form. So typical valuable contents that you need to understand, as I was saying, if a general, a gold lode, meaning gold occurring in quartz formation, in vent formation, the best grade you might find in such a formation will be 6 grams per ton that I talked of earlier, meaning that you can have that's 6 grams of that, and the waste will be about 1,000. So for you to produce gold of appreciable quantity, your production must be large. So imagine that you have a mine and you want to produce in large tonnages. If you take gold, for example, for you to produce, and we here, remember, you sell in ounces, and your target is to produce in tons. A ton is 1,000 kilograms, which means about 1,000,000 grams. So you're producing 6 grams in 1 ton. So you can imagine the quantity that you need to produce to get 1 ton of gold. Our artisanal miners, this operation will take them ages. And that is where the need to get people that have the capacity, the wherewithal to mine in large quantities so that you can produce valuable quantities. And this is where usually they say they want a financially competent investor and a technical competent investor. If all of you are aware that particularly here in Nigeria, I know that most other African countries, South Africa, Zambia, that Dr. Longe talked about, and a host of others, in Ghana, and now our West African neighbors, they have established mines with large quantities of production per day, running into hundreds of thousands on a daily basis. But in the artisanal miners, the throughput is low. So for you to really generate appreciable revenues that will be worthwhile for a nation, you would need to bring in technology, which you will agree with me is challenging for now for us. And not only that, the money involved in developing such a mine is quite massive. So we as Africans need to find a way of pulling our resources together as much as possible, because accessing funds that would enable us establish or even search and look for such deposits is generally challenging. Exploration costs can be very, very high, particularly when you are engaging in diamond core drilling. And yes, Dr. Engineer Longe informed us that our deposits in Africa are quite truly still containing very high metal content, meaning that their deposits are not yet lean. But in most jurisdictions like South Africa, where mining has been carried out for quite some years, their deposits are really reaching those lean grades. Unlike new areas, particularly here in Nigeria, where mining is still in the infantile stage, some of our West African countries and other parts of Africa, the deposits, the grades are still high. The Democratic Republic of Congo that's been attracting so many mines is because of their world-class deposits. So we need to take note of the fact that, yes, we need such investors to produce large quantities of products in wherever we mine, because quantities that we produce will determine the profitability of our operations. If you take the other example, tin, which is placer, if you take Jos Plateau here in Nigeria, you're talking about just 0.3 kg, which is about 300 grams of material per 1 ton. So you can imagine the size of run of mine or material that you extract from that you must process to enable you to extract these metals. So value addition is essential. Mass production is one, for you to produce large tonnages of metal, and then for you to also process and reject this waste, you must involve processing. Our current artisanal miners use crude methods of processing, and we have to, for us to move forward and then catch up with the developed nations and investors that come to Africa, we must imbibe in the use of high-tech processing equipment to enable us increase the processing techniques and its efficiency, as well as use of high-tech mining equipment that will enable us to mechanize our operations. So this is key. So for the investors that are in this forum, needs to have this at the back of their mind. We can pull our resources together because there's nothing money cannot buy, particularly technology. If we have the funds, the technology is out there for you to buy, so you can buy equipment to come and invest, use it in our deposit. The same thing in the second, if you talk of iron ore, which is very essential in steel production, which you consider very, very essential in the construction industry and generally referred to as the bedrock for industrial development, because without steel, you cannot do anything. Alumina, which is where you get bauxite, you can see 50% alumina means that you have 50 grams of this for 50 of waste, and then of course, coal amongst others. The slide you have here with you is just a basic slide that will explain to you what a typical mineral processing plant looks like. And this specifically is for a sulfide mineralization that involves flotation. I won't bother you with this. A general slide here that will just tell you why even the need for value addition, which generally mineral processing is all about. For areas where you have low-grade deposits, what's called linear ores, you need that value addition to remove the waste so that before you only transport the valuable content that you need to move. And then, of course, you need to produce a product that can be used, not full of waste, and save freight, meaning here that you don't want to transport any waste materials, and of course, reduction in process costs. If you treat a low-grade deposit, you will need more inputs for you to produce the product you want to produce as against treating or starting with a high-grade deposit. Of course, pollution control is very essential. Environmental issues are now very high in each community. So we need to ensure that pollutants or the deleterious elements are actually well controlled and we're not taken to processing, particularly in the smelting and refining stages, because if they are volatilized, then there are higher chances of people inhaling them and causing more damage to their bodies, or if they are produced to the metallic form, then there are chances that they will cause more injury to the community and the environment generally. And of course, technology will demand higher concentrations or higher grades of whatever products you produce. General uses of metals as required by the title, of course, are classified into those 6 groups. Transportation generally, talking about roads, railways, and the vehicles themselves. In construction, the houses we live in, bridges, dams, amongst others. Of course, agriculture, equipment, manufacture. Environmental, of course, in controlling environmental pollution. Oil, of course, in catalytic, and this in oil refining, whereby you use some metals as in fracking your oils, and of course in production of magnets. For metals that you were all aware with last week, well, the last conference that we had in this forum, we discussed some of them. For the benefit of those who probably were not there, we'll just run through them. Aluminum, I've told you what it is. Source is, of course, is bauxite. And its main use is, the major use for aluminum is electrical conductors and in the construction industry. And because of its lightweight, it can also be used in construction of motor vehicles, air conditioning, as in the form of tubings. Chromium is an essential metal that's used in producing a corrosion-resistant steel materials, and of course in the production of stainless steels as well. Copper, like Engineer Longe talked about, is a very essential metal that is used for electrical production. You produce copper wires for them for wiring purposes and also for electrical purposes, heat resistance as well. Gold, very essential. This is the key engine now for jewelry purposes, finance and investments in form of coins and bars, and countries that have large stocks of reserves, of course, increases the value of their currency. And then the practice, of course, now is that even at some times when the price of other commodities fall, gold, particularly during the COVID-19 challenges, the prices kept on rising. So it's very essential that countries that are endowed with gold deposits exploit them, not just mining and selling them in crude form, but as much as possible, try to refine so that they can add value to what they produce. Of course, iron ore, source for iron, very essential, the key material for steel production. And then in refining steel, of course, you mine your iron ore, produce your concentrate, which generally is you smelt to produce your crude steel in the form of either pig iron or sponge iron. Pig iron if you're using blast furnace technology, sponge iron if you're using direct reduced technology. And of course, you now refine it to now produce your steel. In refining, steel that you produce actually alloy of copper, alloy of iron and copper and carbon, sorry, and you can now add other alloy elements like you mentioned there, chromium, TB1, manganese, amongst others that will increase the mechanical and other properties, particularly corrosion resistivity, that will increase of the iron and increase the strength to enable use in multiple areas. The other one is lead, which all of us, most of us are aware. The principal mineral for it is galena, and there's other one, ceroside, because the lead carbonate portion. Its principally used, of course, is in battery manufacture, radiation shields, ammunition cable, and as storage for corrosive liquids. Nickel, very, very essential metal for battery manufacture as well. Stainless steel, because stainless steel is very essential. It's highly corrosion resistant steel that you can use in the fabrication of so many products. And then back to steel, then again, you cannot really produce most equipment without the proper steel quality or steel product. So alloying elements are very essential in making iron to produce the various grades of steel products. And then most of those alloy elements are metals as well. Talking about titanium, one of them, manganese, chromium, nickel, vanadium, molybdenum, amongst others. And they are very, very essential. And the importance of this in producing alloys that we require to produce industrial equipments that we require to produce, that we require in our industries cannot be underestimated. And the saying that we should ensure that we add value to the products we produce in our mines, smelt, particularly for metals, and refine them to pure metals to enable us use them effectively cannot be underestimated. So we need to encourage Africans to come together to ensure that they don't just produce raw products and sell them in raw form. They should, as much as possible, add value, smelt in the process if they're required to smelt it, and refine. But the drawbacks in this, of course, are issue of power that we talked about last week, and in the introduction portion, Mazi also talks about. We do not have enough electricity to drive our mining and processing equipments. It's very, very essential that we invest in electricity generation and distribution. Most countries have, at least even if the generation is not high, the distribution tends to be a challenge, and that completely worsens the situation. So it's very essential we generate electricity. Without electricity, refining will be almost impossible, because refining can be very energy consuming. It's a very high energy consuming process. If you take aluminum smelting, the bulk of the operation is electricity. Copper smelting, you must generate heat, after which is electrowinning. You still need electricity. If you do not have electricity, you cannot do. Go to iron making. Iron, yes, it's blast furnace to start, but you need electricity to drive the machines. The electric motors cannot move, cannot drive the necessary equipment without electricity. So it's essential we invest in electricity. Lack of high-tech equipment needed to mechanize operations. Yes, if we have funds or resources, capital required to buy this, it's not a problem, because the equipments are out there in the market. But the greatest challenge is accessing the needed capital to enable us buy this. If we had the necessary technology, we could say we can fabricate our own equipment. But the challenge is we need also the metals, high quality metals that will fabricate equipment that will withstand operations. So this needs to is give and take. We can start by, if we have the funds, to acquire the necessary equipment that are already in the market, and then we can develop or manufacture or design our own equipment. Of course, the other aspect is the improvement of capacity through review of academic curriculum to tackle inadequate skills. We have inadequate skills challenges because the graduates who generate or graduate from our universities currently honestly have challenges. Mines must be fully mechanized. If you graduate a student that has never visited a mine or has never been involved in exploration activities, you know that when he graduates, any company that employs him will have to give him the necessary skills that they will require him to work. But if the universities have a working system whereby they are collaborating with the operators, with the mine owners, if we had mines, then the students will have hand-on training as they are studying. And by the time they graduate from the university, they will have necessary skills to seemingly be absorbed and continue the development of their various careers. So it's essential also that we have a symbiotic relationship between the academia and operators, whereby challenges that operators face can be researched upon by academicians, and results generated by the academicians can be used by these operators. And by this doing, we would now increase our capacity to develop our sectors. What is the way forward? Of course, first suggestion here is we must find ways and means of promoting mechanized mining operations. We cannot think of producing million tons of material per week with just hand tools. Mechanization is essential. And we cannot think of producing very high pure metals with just obsolete equipment or obsolete technology. We must imbibe in the habit of procuring or looking for current technologies that will produce products that can compete with products produced in other continents. And then, of course, we need to pull our resources together to establish mines and processing plants. Currently, we like was observed in our previous meetings here, was that investors tend to want to go it alone. Mining is capital intensive. There's no way, two ways about it. So resources must be pulled together so that it's better to develop one single mine that can produce large quantities of materials than just develop one small mine that cannot compete with anybody. And of course, for processing plants and smelters and refineries that are established in Africa, they must make sure that they give competitive price so that our local producers or local miners can supply their various concentrates to them for them to smelt and produce refined products. If they do not give them good price competitively with the ones they will get outside the continent, I assure you that nobody will supply those plants. And there's a tendency that those plants will just die naturally. I give you a typical example. Nigeria used to have a tin smelter in Jos called Mercury Smelting Plant. Before the 70s, before the nationalization decree, the not local miners, the multinational miners that were exploiting the tin resources of the plateau was supplying all their concentrates to that smelter. And that smelter had enough concentrates and we were exploiting tin metal out to Nigeria. We were selling tin to the global market. We were a member of the tin producing nations then. But due to when the multinationals were asked, when the mines were nationalized and they left and the production reduced, then the prices that the mercury smelters were selling, the collapse of the tin prices started it. And then when things picked up, the prices that were given were no longer competitive. Quantities of concentrates produced for locally was not enough to feed in that plant, meaning that for a smelting plant that's supposed to operate continuously, they will have to shut down until they gather enough materials to feed the plant before they started. So that is not a good plan. So in establishing our plants or in our processing plants, smelters and refining, we must be conscious of the source of raw materials. If the raw materials is not guaranteed and we establish a processing plant that has no feed, then of course you know that business is a sure banker is going to fail. So you must, as investors, make sure that your source of your raw material is established before you think of establishing a processing plant. That is essential. And I urge all of us to take this and use it. Thank you for your kind attention.
Wow, thank you so very much, Dr. Hassan. I believe you'll agree with me that we have been schooled today. Indeed, we have been schooled. Thank you. Dr. Hassan has given us of fundamentals of mining education, as well as the challenges and recommendations, including the need for vocational education, as well as technological needs as to how, as being key ingredients for us in order for us to move forward. Thank you so very much, Dr. Hassan. Thank you very much. And of course, prior to that, we had the privilege of listening to Engineer Lunge with his strategic assessment on the metals mining and refining industry, and as well as strategic recommendations on the way forward. So at this time, we will take questions. At this time, we will take questions. I do recall that Mr. Patrick Odiegu had indicated the fact that he had a question. I want to remind everyone, please, if you have a question, please go ahead and indicate in the chat or just raise your hand. But if you do indicate in the chat, in the chat section, I will know the order in which you've indicated the fact that you have a question. So Mr. Patrick Odiego, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I want to congratulate and appreciate the organizers of this Auto Epoch event. I don't know if I'm heard.
Yes, we can hear you.
My Oga, Omar Hassan, I greet you, sir, engineer.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Absolutely incredible presentation. Mazi, I salute you, sir.
You're welcome. Anytime you need it.
What has been started today is absolutely mind-boggling. The information that has been shared are kindly incredible, wonderfully incredible. And this is really what I've been pushing for the past 12 years. I was very fortunate to have met Engineer Omar very, very earlier on in my mining experience when he was still in Lafayette. I don't know if engineers still recall the meeting. I saw their office and immediately caught my attention because before that time, I was taking barite to Port Harcourt. And when I saw that they have a milling plant in Lafayette, I immediately went in to inquire. And as a result of that, obviously we couldn't do anything because they were in the verge of closing down. But it has always been in my mind that the only way to get value from mining is to process. The only way to do industrialization, to do development, is to keep our resources here in Africa, especially here in Nigeria. Barite, one of the products that we mine, we equally mine lead zinc. This barite, for whatever reason, which I've always fought against, is being imported into this country. I can't see any reason why barite should be imported into Nigeria, for whatever reason. The only excuses that we normally do have is that the grade, for whatever, some miners have been trying to supply low grade. But there are so many locations where they are high grade. Our site particularly has one of the best grade of barite found anywhere in the world. There is no conceivable reason why it should be imported into Nigeria. So this is really incredible meeting, and I'm very privileged to be part of this. It was actually an area manager in the bank that informed me of it, and I started trying to get more information. So in order not to boil the ocean, I am extremely excited. Engineer Lonje, I am extremely excited. I need help because we have at our site the base grade of lead, the base grade of zinc, the base grade of barite, and that meets all standards, quality-wise, quantity-wise. So we really want to be helped to process, to add this value, to create this employment, to domicile this money here in Nigeria, to domicile this money in Africa. We are sick and tired of being called poverty capital of the world, when we know actually we're among the richest. But because of political somersaulting and lack of deeper understanding as to what it is to develop, I'm so pleased to hear what I heard today. And our site is available. I continue to say, barite, a drop of barite doesn't need to come into this country. And we can actually compete any barite mining anywhere in the world. All we are asking for is local market, local market. There's an engagement between oil and gas through Nigerian content, the Ministry of Mines and Steel Development, oil and gas companies, and they are putting emphasis on processing. And I'm saying, hell no, you should put emphasis on mining, because you need to mine, stockpile, to be able to process. Processing is the least part of what that need to come in. That must come in. But first of all, the emphasis should have been on mining, making sure that the product is available ab initio for you to process. So my hands are up. I really need help. A lot of my staff, a lot of the community, they need help. And so many places in Nigeria, we really need to take the bull by the horn. We can no longer accept this. The insecurity that we are seeing is as a result of lack of capacity in making sure that we do the right thing and do it well. So maybe I don't have any question. I just need help. Thank you.
Simply excited and passionate about the issue. So perhaps Engineer Lunge has some advice to offer relative to the fact that he says he needs help.
The help is at hand. You just need to get hold of my details, then we talk from there. Because there are people that are interested in fostering your production. What we need to do is we need to package what we call investable documentations. And that's one of the biggest challenges that investors have. They need JORC, they need some basic geological report, but because you're already producing, it gives you an advantage. Because then you need a joint venture or equity partner that is going to come into your venture, and we can. So let's discuss after the conference.
Dr. Hassan, any
Yes.
kernels
Yes.
of advice to offer?
Well, my advice actually, because his challenge for his failure to get market in Nigeria for his barrett is actually processing. I've been to his site before and I know what he has there. And unless he has a processing plant that will produce a barrett concentrate that will give him 4.2 and above, or even 4.1, he will have a challenge because he has shell is a key thing. And of course, he can use gravity separation to produce that. So he needs to invest in a very good processing plant that will give him a barrett concentrate that he can mill and supply the oil industry. If he's producing a product, when we were operating in Latvia that he mentioned about, we had a processing plant that had gravity separation technique that we were producing any material that comes would first and foremost separate the waste from the heavy barrett. It's after which we now blend and mill. So if you do that, Patrick, I don't see you not having people patronizing you. When we were in oil camp, at least when I was there as the man in charge, none of our truck was rejected by any of the oil mud companies that we supplied. And they used to give us LPO. They'll call us to take a truck. When we get our quality LPO, supply and go and continue supplies. So it's your processing that you really need to work on. You don't work, you are currently planning to drill to establish your reserves, and then of course, but processing is key. If you don't process and produce the required commodity, you are going to have problems selling it. Thank you.
Engineer, if I could say this, you see, you gave the steps to market from exploration, exploitation, and then processing. We are going to have the biggest barrett processing plant in the world. There is no question. Our site is a world-class site. We are now planning to do drilling. We've done some 3 holes on the site. So it is not a site that is unknown quantity. It is a site that will challenge any lead zinc mining site anywhere in the world. I make bold in saying this. So there is no real hurry for us to, first of all, put the cart before the horse. We want to mine, supply to other processors. Let them process, build up a little cash flow. We don't want this site to be mined by a white person. Let me put it graphically. We want this site to be developed by Africans, by Nigerians. That's really the confidence here. We want to make a case, go to any mining event and say, look, this is Nigerian process. This is Nigerian package, that we did this from this level. When we started in 2007, we started by exporting. I've supplied more than 10 to 20 trucks of barite to Makoba, all over 4.3. I challenge Makoba any day. I challenge them because I don't do Nigerian style. I do global style, global standard. Our quality is the absolutely best grade. That's why I turn my chest in saying what I'm saying. But we can't just set up processing plant when we don't have the financial capacity. We wanted to mine, master the mining, and then go into processing, and then go into manufacturing and industrialization. We want to do the full haul because it is right for us to do this. Where are our citizens going to get jobs if we don't take this risk? If we don't
Very well said. Very well said, Mr. Diego. I dare say that, you know, courtesy of ESGADIA, you suddenly have the resources to assist you with the ongoing issue. And I'm sure that you'll have the opportunity to engage them via the auspices of Mazi Obina, even following the conference. So we thank you for sharing your current challenges and seeking a solution to that. Is there anyone else who has?
And if I may add to that,
Yes.
Patrick Odiebu, first of all, let me thank the speakers, Engineer David Longe and Dr. Umar Hassan, for being so comprehensive and succinct, at your presentations. What Patrick just raised is something of serious concern. I do know that barytes is a mineral that is used for drilling. And as if Africa is cost, we keep importing what we already have. We keep importing what we already have, and it is not right, and it cannot be right. Lead, for example, we know the various uses of lead, even in battery companies and all that. But what is it that is stopping us from actually harnessing, what we already have? And those who are actually in custody of our commonwealth, they are busy looting. That's what they're doing. They're busy looting our funds, looting our commonwealth. And must we have to source for foreign aids, foreign investors, for us to harness these things? It means what that shows is that what we have as leaders are just misfit leaders. These are leaders that have no content. Look at what Patrick Odegu just said. Okay, so it is not right that barite will be importing barite into this country, where you know that you can beneficiate barites, you can process them, and we have them in large quantity all over the place, from Edo to Nasarawa to up north. Just name it. We have barites all over the place, and we keep importing barites. So I want to think that the government, I don't know if they are aware of this mass importation of barites by especially the multinationals that are into E&P, exploration and production. We should stop the importation of barites, because we have barites here in this country. How can we stop importation of cement? Okay, because we have all the components of cement here. So why are we not stopping the importation of barites? So I must commend you and Patrick Odiebu for bringing this up. ESGADIA will take it up with the government. We will take it up, and ESGADIA you are in the right place, like David Longe have just told you. We have quite a number of investors, and David Longe is a resourceful person when it comes to funding. Thank you. Over to you, Bola Desu.
Thank you very much. And I would say, in response to your question with regards to the government not being aware, and I would say that if they're not aware, that it speaks of poor leadership, and we know that poor leadership is the bane of progress. Dr. Hassan, please go ahead.
Dr. Hassan, we can't hear you. You need to unmute your audio.
Unmute it for me.
Sorry, please.
Okay.
Okay, I said regarding the issue of government not being aware, I don't think it's not absolutely correct, because barite is under the minerals that were banned. I think sometime in 2007, and up to now, barite is a banned commodity. The challenge that usually happens is that waivers are obtained for barite to be imported. And what usually happens is that the mud drilling companies or oil exploration companies will come and with a request to say that they do not have barites of required specification locally. And that usually leads to permit being given to them to import. So barite is already on the banned list. But the challenge is that, and as I said, Mazi made mention of the fact that cement production or cement importation was banned. And The reason is that the quality of cement that we now have in the country is enough and nobody's complaining. For barite, the challenge, honestly, let's face it, we shouldn't deceive ourselves, is that of the processing aspect. You don't have to establish a large plant like I mentioned earlier on. Go for modular plants and start and grow gradually. Engineer Longe made mention of that. And then the cash you are going to generate, you can now reinvest back and expand as you are going along. And that is the way that we can go. Because if you produce products, if governments know that there's a product that meets specification, there's no way to give permit for products to be imported. It's never done, it's never possible. But when they usually do is that when they come with requests, before approval is given, producers are usually summoned and say, okay, who has what? It's in the absence of not having quantities to meet the order that permits are given for barrels to be imported. So I think we need to put our house together. We should encourage local process. I'm a mineral processing engineer, and it will be my joy to see that minerals are produced in Nigeria. So we need to put our house together and do the right thing. If we do that, we shouldn't have any problems. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Hassan, for the
Sorry,
further
can
enlightenment.
Can I make a point?
Very briefly, please.
Yeah,
very briefly.
You see, that is what the engineer just said, is what I've always disagreed with. I've always disagreed with this point. Oil and gas knew have an issue that they will be needing barite in 6 months, in 1 year, in 2 years. I said backward integration. Give us an order to start supplying in 3 months. If you give me an order to supply you 100,000 metric ton in 3 months, I will supply you 200,000 metric ton in 3 months, nailed to any specification that you wish to put in there. But they don't want to do this because they know that the barite miners don't have the capacity to produce and stockpile, pending when they come with their fire brigade. It's a very deliberate ploy that has always worked for them. 50 years into oil and gas, there is no single one barite mine that has all the full value chain process. It's a big shame on this country. I keep saying this, and I don't care what is going to happen to me if I say the truth. I will say that truth. What is happening is a big, big shame on this country. It should stop, and it must stop. Now, going further on that, and like I said again, give me an order to supply you 200,000 metric ton. I will supply 400,000 metric ton in 3 months. Just the time that is needed, because the financial system in Nigeria doesn't work. It doesn't work. The barite that I sold to Makoba was paid through the bank. The bank manager approached them and said, look, this is the site. I actually took them to the site. This is where this is produced. This is how the payment comes. Can you please give me funding to build the capacity? They refuse. Pardon my French. They refuse. They refuse, citing all manner of excuses. Is this how a nation is supposed to be developed? I don't know.
To be continued.
that's a big challenge, but it's not insurmountable. Yeah. We have similar challenge across Africa. And what we don't want to do eventually is what we must do. And we are both emphasizing it with Dr. Umar. There is no other way for us to grow as Africa, rather than to start small, baby steps, and move to higher level. Because as long as we depend on foreign investment, ultimately, we will continually be looted and exploited. We need to grow. We need to learn from our mistakes. And I believe in you, and I'm sure everybody in this forum believes in you, believes in your capacity. Do not misunderstand what the doctor is trying to say. If you produce, maybe let me come from the strategic management point of view. If you produce and you are not processing, you are at a loss. You are incurring some loss. But if you are the processor yourself, you are not going to lose what you are going to lose if you are not processing. So, but the processing you must do must start small. Experiment it, prove to us that you can process. And then barite can be used for other things, even if the oil companies are not taking it. You can also establish the end user company for yourself at the end of the day, so that you prove a point to these guys that if you don't want my barite, I can actually use it by myself. You understand? So we have an end user company that can be established to do that, but not to worry at all. The whole essence of this forum is for you to be able to have access into the help that you need. And I can guarantee you there are people that will be interested. We are a bit limited by COVID-19, but we thank God for Zoom. We thank God for internet connection. At least COVID is not affecting the Wi-Fi. So we can communicate and make things easier for ourselves. Let's look at within the next 6 months and see how fast we can move with your project. We do a presentation, we do some pitch deck presentation. I will guide you through this. We present your project in the presence of network of investors. And personally, I'm also grooming investors where we call equity crowdfunders for mining projects in Africa. So you might eventually have some of the funds that you need and grow small and grow step by step until you become a mega barite producer in Africa. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much, Engineer Longe. So certainly there are strategic ways to ensure that your needs are met and that you're able to gain the confidence of your potential consumers. We are about at the end of our time right now, so I would ask very briefly if you take just about 1 minute each, Engineer Longe and Dr. Hassan, to provide closing remarks, and then Mazi Obena will close us out. Please go ahead, Engineer Longe.
Thank you very much, and I want to appreciate the participants on this program. I thank you for coming up to be able to listen to what we have to say. I think we need to champion this together. This is our continent. We look forward to a more unified Africa. At the end of the day, if we cannot take our destiny in our hands, we remain a slave of economy. And so we are trying to liberate ourselves and our children from this slavery. And there is only one way to do it, to pay sacrifices. And this is the sacrifice we are paying right now in our own generations. Our fathers couldn't do it. They tried their best, but they gave us independence, quote and unquote. But now we need to liberate ourselves economically. We need economic independence. And it's not going to come the easy way. We need to take our destiny in our hands as Africans. We must believe in ourselves that it can be done. And like I said, don't forget it. The next time you pick your plate, you know this is mining. When you pick your clothes, you know it came from mining product. There is mining in everything that you touch. And I'm sure Engineer Omar will tell you more about that, because when it is processed, then it becomes a finished product. Thank you very much. We will chat again some other time.
Thank you very much, Engineer Longe. Dr. Hassan, please.
Yes, okay. Thank you, our chair and Mazi, and thanks our colleagues. It's my honor and privilege to actually share my thoughts with you, and I appreciate you for giving me this forum. And I urge us to, as I said earlier on, to, as much as possible, collaborate, look for investors, look for partners who can add value to what you're doing, and let us learn from our past mistakes so that we can grow. It's by learning from our experiences that we can advance our operations and productivity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Hassan. And before Mazi closes us out, I just want to let everyone know that to attain the contact information for Mazi Obena, who is the Executive Director for ESGADIA, it is noted in the chat section. So if you do need to reach out to ESGADIA, please avail yourself of that information in the chat. Mazi Obena, please close us out.
Yes, I must thank everyone. Once again, Engineer David Longe, for your presentation. Dr. Omar Hassan, I must thank you. All the way from Saudi Arabia, I can see Abu Sani there, and the host of, Gertrude, Madam Gertrude, you're here. So I thank all of you for making this possible. I must say that we will continue to have this kind of conversation. We will continue to talk to ourselves. We will continue to, rub minds and educate ourselves, and then collaborate to see, just like what have just happened. I must tell you that Patrick's prayer, has been answered through this conference. So we must find a way to collaborate. Like I've always said, if you are a tree in a forest and every animal is climbing on you, you hardly grow leaves. So we need, as Africans, to come together. Let us put aside egocentrism, greed, and come together and work as one and see if we won't be able to move Africa from the mock and mare of poverty that she is at the moment. We cannot continue to import what we already have. It is not right. Before, just of late, clinker, for example, the duty of clinker was increased from 10% to 50%. For cement, even though most of the cement factories don't own a clinker plant. But what is in clinker? Clinker is just a blend of maybe gypsum and limestone, if I'm right. So all of these components for cement, for example, we have here. So why are we importing clinker? Now look at barite. Why are we importing barites? And for you to do drilling operation, you need barites. You need the likes of barites, CMC, Pacaro, and all of that. But barites that we have here, even bentonite. Yes, bentonite we also have here. So why are we importing bentonite? Why are we importing all of these materials that we could easily process and harness to their full effect? By so doing, we'll be able to employ our youth, give them gainful employment and economically, empower them. So I thank all of you for this wonderful section, and I thank you for being part of it. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much for attending. We are grateful that you're able to join us today. And if you're not a member of ESGADIA and you're interested in information, please also reach out to Mazi Obina for information. We thank you and wish you all a good day, a good evening, a good afternoon. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Uncle Patrick, you make sure you get hold of me before I disappear, okay?
Please.
Thank you.
Thank
God
you all.
bless you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Congratulations on your new appointment.
Thank you.
They visited the site just recently to Audu. He visited the site on his way from Taraba.
Yes, he told me.
Yes. So we're moving forward. The road, we are constructing the road now. These are really some of the things that is very painful. A small company doing access road. I mean, this is basically what we expect government to help us with. But we are not going to relent.
Okay, I wish you best of luck.
Thank you so very much.
And everybody, you have my number now, Patrick. Can you see my number there?
Can I have it?
Yeah, +234.
Yeah.
80333.
Yeah.
01904. 80333 01904.
Got it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great. You're welcome.
Lovely.
All right, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, Bola.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.